It's been a few days since I bought the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I've received a ton of questions from subscribers, so now I'm going to go through and answer all of the questions I got on this phone. First question, how does the action button work? Well, the action button, it replaced the mute switch on the new Pro models. By default, when you get the phone, it just acts as the mute ringer switch did, but there's a new settings page in iOS's settings for the new Pro phones that you can go in and customize what the action button does. You can set it to turn on Do Not Disturb. You could set it to open the camera. So when I press and hold the button, it just opens the camera up. And then if I press it again, it'll actually take the photo. You can also set it to just open up any app on your iPhone, or you can set it up to trigger a shortcut. And shortcuts allow you to do almost anything with the action button. You can program a menu to appear of different shortcuts like in Dan Seifert's piece from The Verge, have it trigger different focus modes based on certain criteria, and I've even written a shortcut that gets the current status of my focus mode as well as the phone's location. When the phone is at home, I've programmed my shortcut to turn on Do Not Disturb if it's not already on when the action button is triggered, and if Do Not Disturb is already on, hitting the action button again will turn it off. Now, when I'm not at home, the action button will then trigger the camera. Next question, does it really improve in any aspect? Yes, they actually changed quite a bit. Even though it doesn't look exciting on paper, having a phone that is 20 grams lighter, that have these rounded edges, it really makes you realize how uncomfortable the previous iPhones were. This phone now is like 220, somewhere around there. Other Android phones of the same size are still lighter than this iPhone, but I think Apple finally embracing their kind of core root of like, yeah, more premium technology should actually be thinner and lighter. Going back to that is definitely a step in the right direction. Now, aside from just the new titanium material, this is the natural titanium color, by the way. It looks very good in person. One of the slickest iPhones I've seen in the past few years. They actually did change a lot on the inside of the phone as well. The new Pro iPhones have a new chip, supposed to be better for iOS gaming. The cameras also got a pretty significant upgrade. The new iPhones can take 24 megapixel photos, and in my limited testing so far, it does make a difference. These phones are now capturing more detail in the photos you take. Plus, the new Pro Max has a 5x telephoto that just allows you to get closer to a subject. Also, the new iPhone camera systems can do focused adjustments after you take the photo. So what happens is when you take a photo of someone or a pet, you'll see this little new f-stop icon that appears. And what that's telling you is the iPhone is capturing all depth information it needs to be able to then allow you, after you take the photo, to just tap and refocus. And then not only can you refocus the subject after you take the photo, but then you can also digitally adjust the f-stop to give a more or less bokeh effect behind your subject. You can decide after you take a regular photo to make it a portrait photo. Now, you don't just have to get a Pro to get it. You can get a regular iPhone 15 and 15 Plus. I think it's Plus. And then lastly, with the new iPhones, you get USB-C. With the Pro models, you actually get USB-C 3.0, which means you're going to get faster data transfer speeds. It also just unlocks a ton of flexibility now with what you can plug your phone into. You can plug it into an external storage drive, and it just works. You can actually record from this phone to external storage as well. All right, related to USB-C, next question. Does USB-C support 40-watt fast charging like Android's? Which model has reverse wireless charging? So no iPhone model has reverse wireless charging, it's reverse wired charging, so just keep that in mind. In terms of charging speeds, I couldn't find an official spec from Apple, but depending on the article written, I could find a spec of anywhere from 27 to 29 watts, so somewhere in that range. All right, next question. Is it time to ditch Apple and Google and start training pigeons again? That's up to every person to decide for themselves. Just like it's up to every person to decide whether or not to subscribe to this video's sponsor. Backblaze. I became a Backblaze customer several months ago after reading a story about these 4 terabyte hard drives failing and realizing, wait, those are the same drives I use to run critical workloads. Oh no, they're not backed up to the cloud. If one of these drives failed, I was screwed. So I quickly searched online for a solution, and Backblaze for me became the obvious choice. With Backblaze, you get simple pricing, $7 a month with no add-ons or gimmicks. My computer and every drive plugged into it is continuously backed up via their software, which runs in the background on both Mac and PC. If there's ever a problem with your files, you can web restore from anywhere in the world. Or restore your files by mail and they'll ship a hard drive with your files right to your door. And for $2 a month more, you can increase your retention history from 30 days to a full year. Backblaze is recommended by the New York Times, Macworld, Wired, 9to5Mac, and more. So don't wait as long as I did. You can try Backblaze for free by going to backblaze.com/6monthslater. It's a 15-day trial with no credit card required. Seriously, back up your stuff. Sign up for a free trial today at backblaze.com/6monthslater. All right, next question. Any reason a lifelong PC and Android user should make the switch? What would be the biggest obstacles? I have the Galaxy S21 5G right now. Biggest obstacles, I'll take that one first. The flexibility of Android. You will likely miss on iOS if you're doing a lot of stuff like rooting your Android phone or downloading apps outside of the Google Play Store. Now, if you're not doing either of those things, there are like little things within Android, the way notifications are treated and specific features that you may miss. But you might at the same time also be surprised that a lot of the stuff that Android in the past led on, Apple just, eventually implemented, like widgets, for example. The way Apple implements their features, they keep it more aesthetically consistent. But when you scroll through all the widgets that you can add to your iOS home screen, they all follow the same aesthetic design principles. And that is not the same thing on Android, especially after Material U rolled out. Google's widgets look pretty good, and then third-party ones that haven't been updated in years can kind of look like. Now, why would somebody who has a Windows PC and an Android phone, why should you switch? I'm not really sure, based on your specific scenario, there's any real benefits that you're going to get, unless there's something about either the iPhone's aesthetic that's alluring to you, which I know that is a thing for some out there, or that you just kind of want something new. When you actually switch operating systems from Android to iOS, it does feel like, oh, this is completely different this year. All right, next question. USB-C testing with third-party cables. The one in the box is 2.0 LOL. This is one of the frustrating things I have about USB-C, even though I'm like, yes, I'm glad Apple was forced to do this by the Europeans. It's not obvious when looking at a USB-C cable what it actually supports. And I'll have more to say on the different cords and accessories you can plug your phone into in our full review. But in general, so far, the transfer speeds on this, a lot faster than Lightning. All right, next question. Natural titanium, is it also coated? I couldn't find any information on this to actually confirm that or not. The way that these side rails, they have a brushed texture to them, and I imagine the only way Apple was able to do that is by just adding another coating, even though this is the natural titanium color. I would still assume that yes, it does have that coating on there. How hot is the phone getting? I heard people say it got too hot every time it was charging. Haven't experienced that. From what I've seen, current reports suggest this issue is limited to the iPhone 15 Pro, but the 15 Pro Max doesn't seem to have a similar issue. I've tried a few games on my phone and the back of the phone gets warm, but to me it hasn't noticeably gotten warmer than previous iPhones. All right, next question. Did your phone come with discoloration on the titanium? No, not that I recall, although when the oil from your fingers is applying to the side rails here, you will notice a little discoloration, but you can easily remove that with a damp microfiber cloth. The new telephoto performance, and is it worth upgrading from the 13 Pro? If I had the 13 Pro, I would be very tempted by this phone, but that's mainly because I always craving a better telephoto lens personally, because telephoto is a lens I use a lot on smartphone cameras. I always think telephoto is typically a more usable lens than the ultra wide, just in most cases for what I'm shooting. I haven't put it through its paces quite yet, so make sure you subscribe to see my 6 months later review of this phone where I'll really put it through its paces. Does the titanium look less premium than stainless steel? In pics, it's looking like aluminum. I mean, I see why you would think that it looks aluminum because Apple went with this brushed finish, but when you see this in person, it still screams just like This is a very elegantly designed iPhone. I would take this titanium any day of the week over stainless steel. To me, a lighter phone that feels more ergonomic and better in your hand, that should really be the more premium experience than, hey, we made this brick and it's hard to hold. Oh, look, it's more premium. Like, that doesn't make any sense. How does the second display work? It works basically like if you just screen mirrored your iPhone via AirPlay to a TV. But the second part of this question here is some say it can connect to a monitor the way Android does, like Samsung DeX. In my experience, no. If that were the case, it would have worked that way with the Studio Display. In my experience, no, it does not. Next question, back glass strength. I'm not gonna bend my iPhone on camera. I do not have the budget for that for this video, but there are videos out on YouTube like Jerry Rig Everything. I think he found with the Pro Max model specifically, it didn't seem as strong as previous years, but just don't sit on your phone. I think you'll be fine. And our last question, how seamless is it to use the Google Assistant in the customized action button? It works, and actually when you download the Google Assistant, you go into the Shortcuts app, you can either have the action button open the Google Assistant app, or you can have it trigger the hey blank. You do that, it'll typically open the app for the first time and then automatically turn the mics on and you just talk to the assistant. Where this becomes less seamless though is if the Google Assistant app is already open in the background and you hold the action button again, you have to then tap the mic to talk to it. It doesn't trigger the mic every time when you hit the action button. So that was the last question, but now let me know, what do you think of Apple's new iPhones? What did you think of my impressions and my answers? Did I get things wrong? Did you agree with what I said? Let me know down in the comments below, and consider giving this video a thumbs up if you liked it and found it helpful, and make sure you subscribe to the channel to see my full 6 months later review of the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And to see more videos on Apple and other tech products, you can get to those by clicking on the videos above. For 6 months later, I'm Josh Tedder. Thanks for watching.